Thank you for joining. We are from Aerospace R&D Private Limited and happy to invite Professor Dr. E. Balasubramanian, Department of Mechanical Engineering, Head Center for Autonomous System Research, Weldtech Rangarajan Dr. Sakunthala R&D Institute of Science and Technology. He has great experience in UAV field and I will share little about them. He received a PhD in the field of robotics and control at Concord University, Canada. He published 2 books, more than 50 journals and conference papers, and 7 patents have been applied. He received grants from various Government of India funding programs supported through DST, DRDO and IEI. He has collaborated with Taiwan scientists under Indo-Taiwan schema for the development of micro-aerial flapping wing vehicles and formation control through image processing techniques. He has designed a tabletop test rig integrated with 2 load cells to measure the aerodynamic forces of flapping wing vehicles funded by DRDO, AR and DB. He is collaborating with Canadian and Korean scientists in developing and deployment of UAVs for railway bridge inspection and collection of water samples in remote water bodies using amphibious UAV under Indo-Canada and Indo-Korea research schemes by DST Government of India. His team developed UAVs for diverse applications including powerline inspection and bridge inspection. His team won the first prize of 5 lakhs in a national level competition organized by Power Grid Corporation Limited. Presently working on swarm of UAVs funded by ISRO and groundnut monitoring using image processing funded by DBT. His research interests are UAV, robotics, sensors and 3D printing. Once again, thank you sir. You may start the session.
Okay, so good evening, one and all, for this webinar session. First of all, I like to thank Professor Vasant Raj from Madras Institute of Technology, MIT campus, and Aerospace Limited, Private Limited, for providing me an opportunity to share some of the works we have done so far at Weldtech. So this is the overview of this today's presentation, and as I mentioned, about 3 categories of UAVs: fixed rotor wing and flapping wing vehicles, and it depends upon the applications and how much payload and what kind of maneuverability and what kind of actions and how narrow environment you want to use this kind of UAVs depends upon the types of UAVs. This fixed wing UAV will be useful when we want to carry high payload. Of course, it will have a more flight time endurance because of its other propulsion characteristics. And in terms of rotary wing vehicle, when we want to move very quickly, very narrow environment, or you want to achieve hovering, so those aspects, this rotary wing UAVs will be useful. And flapping wing vehicle, if you want to use the surveillance applications in Ladakh border or any other defense applications, bird mimicking like structure, it will be very useful. It also very useful in terms of narrow and confined environment. So it depends upon the applications and demands. We will be using these kind of UAVs. Basically, any UAV if you take, these are all the major characteristics we should understand. First and foremost is what kind of lift, how much it will be able to carry a payload depends upon the lift characteristics and its own weight of the structure. So if you have high lift, you will have more payload you can add, and the thrust, when how fast you are going to move, so that against the wind conditions. So resisting the wind conditions, the drag, how much you are able to move forward, that is what thrust. So you will have high lift and thrust characteristics. That is the first and foremost thing. And your structure will be of light in weight, so that you will be increasing your flight time endurance. So your endurance should be depends upon the battery or your engine powered or fuel cell powered, or what kind of propulsion units you are incorporating, and it depends upon the load also. So if your payload is more, your endurance will be reduced. So your structural weight is increasing, your endurance will be reducing. So you have to have the proper calculation, how much capacity of your battery and how much is the weight. Based on that, you will be able to find out the endurance. And obviously, if you want to take more payload, for example, you want to carry a medical box, or if you want to carry a maybe LIDAR or hyperspectral imager or any other sensors you want to carry in terms of application, different applications. So you are demanding more payload. For example, in agricultural pesticide spraying, at least 10 liters of pesticides you should spray, so that you will be able to fly. You can cover large area. So you should have more payload. And other important aspect is maneuverability, how much it is moving in terms of narrow and confined environment. That is what maneuverability. So if you want to if you want to move in a restricted space and obstacle prone regions, you should have good maneuverability. Hovering is nothing but how much you are staying at particular altitude of your interest. That is what hovering. You will be staying at an altitude of 100 meters or 200 meters, something like that. That particular applications or particular demand, we will be using this hovering aspect. And vertical takeoff landing, VTOL. That is, if you want to move the fixed wing vehicle, we want to avoid the initial takeoff with large space. You will be using this vertical takeoff kind of vehicle in fixed wing application. So vertical takeoff will be hybrid category of fixed wing category. We will be recently, so many people are working. So if you think of any one of the characteristics, and if you want to improve those characteristics according to your demand, your applications, those are the main aspects of UAV development. So you should understand the characteristics and your application. So based on that, you should define or design your UAV. So just a glimpse about few of the vertical takeoff. So this is about one of the vertical takeoff vehicle, and this is also vertical takeoff vehicle. And some of the other vehicle, this is developed by our DRDO lab. And if you take any fixed wing vehicle, you will be having 3 control surfaces. As I mentioned about roll, pitch, yaw motion, and the roll is controlled by this aileron control surface, and pitch is controlled by elevator, and yaw is controlled by this rudder. So whenever you are sitting on an aeroplane, the vehicle is rolling and pitching up and down, and it is just yawing is left and right motion. Rolling is nothing but about this axis you are rotating the plane, and pitching is nothing but up and down motion about this axis, and yawing is nothing but your left and right motion. So whenever you are experiencing a flight, you will be having these 3 maneuverability to move, navigate in a space. That is what these control surfaces are useful. Other like cockpits, engine, other stabilizers or additional elements to make sure you are able to achieve a stable flight. So this is the basic control surfaces for a fixed wing vehicle. If you think of, as I mentioned about lift and thrust. So what is lift? Lift is nothing but it is a force generated against the weight, including the payload. So whenever you are experiencing a lift, it will be above this particular weight, including the payload. Okay, so whenever these two are balanced, so when the lift is balanced with respect to weight, then we will be, and also the thrust, which is against the wind condition, the drag. When these two, thrust and drag and lift and weight, are equally balanced, at this condition, you will be able to achieve a stable flight. So the point here is you will be balancing the vehicle, your unmanned vehicle, with respect to its own weight. It includes payload with respect to lift, and you are balancing the air resistance, nothing but drag, external wind resistance, which is nothing but drag, that is nullified with the help of a thrust generated by the UAV. So if you balance these two forces, lift and thrust forces, then you are able to achieve a stable flight in any kind of UAV. So this is an example just for a fixed wing UAV. So coming back to second category, flapping wing vehicles. You see this particular bird of around 2-meter wingspan, and this is developed by a German company called Festo. This is a world-renowned company in developing these kind of bird-like structures. So you can see the video from the Festo. And this is our 1-meter wingspan developed by our Whale-Tech students. And this is a hummingbird developed by Aero Environment at US. and this is from Indo-Taiwan collaboration. We developed at Whaltech. It is about 20 centimeter wingspan, and the total weight of this particular flapping wing is about 10 grams. So you see a different 2 meter, 1 meter, 20 centimeter, and hummingbird kind of structures. So these are all different flapping wing vehicles you can think of if you want to design for any kind of bird-like structure. So what are the typical parts involved in the ornithopter? Basically, you will be having a transmission element. What is transmission element? You are having a BLDC motor, brushless DC motor, that will be rotating about 32,000 or 40,000 RPM. You want to achieve about 1,200 RPM, so that you will be 1,200 RPM divided by 60 will be 20 hertz. So that 20 hertz flapping frequency, you want to reduce the speed from 32,000 RPM to 1,200 RPM. So there will be a gear reduction unit in this, and also your rotary motion has to be converted into a up and down flapping motion. So the gears and the links, the linkages, which are called as transmission elements. And we will be having a lithium polymer battery, and you will have RC remote chip, also the controller unit, small chip, and a flapping wing material about Parylene or Mylar or any other polymer based material of having high stiffness. So why high stiffness? It should withstand the high cyclic up and down motion coming from the this particular mechanism. That is, the rotary motion is converted into flapping motion. About 20 hertz means it is 20 cycles per second. So it is per second, it is flap up and down 20 times. So if you think about hummingbird, it is flapping frequency about 80 to 100 hertz. So it is flapping about 80 up and down motion per second. So you should think of how much it should resist. Your wing material should resist the load coming onto it. So the flapping wing having high stiffness material is very much needed, otherwise it will tear off. So you can attach a small micro level 1 gram camera, and you can move into a narrow environment where your obstacle, for example, in a earthquake congested region where human victims we are unable to identify. So we can send this kind of ornithopters with a small camera mounted on it. We can see the human victims inside it. Okay, so this is about basic parts of flapping wing UAV. And next category is, which I'm going to focus today, is rotary wing UAV. You can see a number of rotors like single rotor, two rotor, multi rotor systems, quad, octa, and hexacopters. So it depends upon the payload, what kind of payload you are going. So the number of rotors will increase, and your stability requirements and your safety requirements, you will be increasing the number of rotors. So that is what we have to have, more number of rotors according to the demand and according to the applications what you are targeting on it. So these are all some of the pictures I just to show that single to multi rotor, I mean 8 rotor system. And nowadays this Zigong from China, and this is from Poland, and some of the other vehicles were developed for human carrying, like passenger vehicle, this multi rotor system. So about this particular payload of this Zigong is about 100 kg. So this already achieved a good flight endurance. So these are all the developments so far in the multi-rotor UAV vehicles. So if you think of typical quad rotor parts, you will be having a brushless DC motor and propeller combination. Nowadays these two are an EAC, electronic speed controllers. So these are coming together. Even this motor, I mean this motor and electronic controller are integrated nowadays. So you don't have to waste the space. So this is basic unit, electronic speed controller and the motors and propellers. This is the one set. And you will be having a main brain of the system called flight controller, wherein I will explain in detail. And also you will have transmitters, you will be receiving an RC signal will be received by an antenna that will be mounted on the UAV and the control receiver. And you will be having a battery, lithium polymer batteries are used for this kind of UAVs. Because lithium polymer batteries are highly rechargeable. I mean, it will be having good life. That is what we use lithium polymer batteries instead of other batteries. So this is typical parts. If I go with specific parts, for example, if you want to select a propeller, so normally propellers are having both clockwise as well as counterclockwise. If you see this tip, you can see this box. You see whenever there is air hitting on it, so it will rotate in a clockwise sense. So you see a protrusion in a propeller, and you see the wind is hitting onto the propeller, and you can claim that rotation into clockwise. And here it is hitting here in this direction, and this particular propeller is counterclockwise. So why clockwise and counterclockwise propellers? In adjacent rotors rotating in terms of clockwise and counterclockwise, the two moments coming from each other will be balanced with the help of this clockwise and counterclockwise propellers. So if I have a quad rotor, that adjacent two propellers should be opposite to each other, so that these moments coming from each will be balanced, so that we will be achieving the stability. That is why we have to go for this clockwise and counterclockwise propellers. Generally, we will define the propeller in terms of its diameter or length and its pitch. So 10-inch diameter or length and 4.5-inch is the pitch, for example. So what is pitch? It is nothing but when the propeller is rotating for one revolution, how much the UAV is advancing. So that is what the pitch is defined as. So if you are having more pitch, you will be moving very fast. So for example, if I want to select a propeller of smaller in diameter with high pitch, it will be suited for fast and quick maneuvering operations. So high pitch, it is moving very fast, so it will be very quick, and also you will have a less inertia because of less propeller area. So we will be using for fast and quick maneuver, like acrobatic actions. You will be going for this smaller propellers, and larger propellers when you will be with low pitch, that will be useful to carry more heavier payload applications. So you will be having a larger space area, so that your lift performance will be increased, so that your total payload capacity will be increased. So that is what we will be going for, larger propeller with low pitch. It will be rotating about less speed. So that is that is application demand. So generally, carbon fibers are very widely used because of its high strength to weight ratio. The strength of the propeller, the particular carbon fiber, is very good with respect to its weight. That is what we go for a carbon fiber propeller. So this is the basic, what kind of applications, and whether we should go for smaller and larger propellers. And next one is motor, brushless DC motor, BLDC motor. It is meant with respect to its kV rating. So what is kV? It is nothing but how much your motor is rotating when 1 volt is supplied. For example, if I have a 900 kV, I'll for 1 volt, if I supply to this motor, then I will be rotating the motor 900 RPM. If I am supplying about 11.1 volt, like 3-cell battery, then 900 into 11.1, it will be able to rotate that much, 9,000 or 9,200 RPM, it will be able to rotate. So it depends upon the kV rating. So normally there are a high kV rating and low kV rating. For example, if I want to go for less load carrying capacity, then you should go for high kV rating, because it will be rotating very slowly, and your torque requirement is less, and your torque requirement is high. Then you should go for low kV rating. So high load, nothing but high torque rating. So you will go for low kV rating. So depends upon the demand, depends upon your payload. You have to choose your kV rating. For example, 180 kV will be useful for high torque requirement, high load requirement. 900 kV or 1000 kV when you want to move maybe very fast, but you want to carry less load. So those aspects are important in terms of selecting your motor. So that is important. Normally nowadays T motors and are predominantly used nowadays because of its high reliability. Next one is batteries. always I said about lithium polymer because of its good lifetime, and charging and discharging capacity is very nice compared to other kind of batteries. We will usually designated the nomenclature will be with respect to number of cells. This 6 is nothing but 6 cells defines the maximum voltage. So each cell, for example, it will be maximum of 4.2 volts and nominal of 3.7 volt. If it is in a discharge condition, then the 3 volt we can take it as it is discharged completely. So 6 into 4.2 is the maximum volt. Usually we take it as a nominal voltage so that our performance we can have some measures can be optimized. So you will be 6 into 3.7, your voltage rating will be 22.2 volt. And in terms of capacity, that how much that battery having the energy density, how much is the energy density, that depends upon your mAh, milliamps per hour. So it is having 16 amps, so it is having more high energy density, and it depends upon the battery size. So if you increase the battery size, I mean, if you increase the amps, you will you have to increase the battery size. So optimal battery and optimal energy density requirement is very much needed to reduce the weight according to your a structural weight, what kind of structure it can go ahead. And another rating is C rating, 15C. So it is nothing but how much you are able to discharge and charge. I mean, your from the battery. So 16 amps into 15C, that will be the maximum amps you can discharge from a battery. So 16 into 15, around 240 amps is the maximum discharge capacity of this particular battery, of this particular 16 amps and 15C. So this is how the battery selection and battery, according to your endurance, you have to select. And also you remember this 3 volt is the maximum, very maximum cutoff voltage. You should always think of bare minimum voltage. Below that, your battery will be a bad level. It will achieve. It will go. So the another important control elements to actuate your motor is electronic speed controller, where you will be generating the signal like your three-phase signal from a pulse width modulated signal. So what is pulse width modulated signal? The controller, the brain of the particular unit, the controller will be sending a pulse of according to the speed, what speed you want to activate. So that pulse is it depends upon the length of the pulse, your speed will be varying. So the pulse width modulated signal will be converted into a three-phase signal in this particular electronic speed controller, that will be given to the input given to the motor. So the motor will be receiving those signals from the electronic speed controller, and that electronic speed controller will be the main person to control your motor. So it depends upon your input DC power supply and your pulse width modulated signal. These two are the input. Your output is motor speed, how much it is rotating. It depends upon its voltage and current rating. And there will be a battery eliminator circuit in the old ESCs. So your voltage is going 5 and above. So you will be cut. The voltage will be reduced below 5 volts. So there will be a margin, elimination margin with respect to its performance. So this is a typical EAC, and the signals, PWM signals and the grounds and the VEC are given a different color. So you can connect the motors according to the, you can connect this electronic speed controller to the motors according to this particular 3 different, this units. Okay, and we have a transmitter, like usually this ISM bands, Indian Scientific Medical Band, are using this 3-4 frequencies. So they are actually 433 megahertz, 900 megahertz, 2.4 gigahertz, and 5.8 gigahertz for research purpose. So you have to choose any one of the frequencies for your RC, radio control. So normally 2.4 gigahertz is very widely, all the people who are using this particular 2.4 gigahertz for your radio transmission models. and 433 will be also useful for your the telemetry signals. So the whatever the sensors or whatever the control units, all those information from the UAV, which will be sent to the ground station with the help of telemetry, that is 433 megahertz frequency. You can use 900 megahertz for example video, and 5.8 gigahertz for some other purpose, or even 5.8 gigahertz for video and 900 megahertz for some other purpose. So it depends upon your application. And normally mode 2 transmitters are preferred in the India. So the mode 2 will be throttle and yaw, this, and pitch and roll. So this is a mode 2 transmitter. Normally Fedora will be giving good performance. And the brain of the our UAV is flight controller. Normally the open source most widely used is Pixar, KK, CC3D, APM, or other controllers which you can think of for open source. Commercial controllers A3, A2, NASA from DJI. That is the very good controllers from the commercial aspect. So, but nowadays DJI is banned. So, if you can get the A3, then it will be having more GPS. 3 GPS will be there, so that you will have more accuracy in terms of your positioning of your system. And this controller will have 4 sensors, like for example accelerometer will be defining your acceleration. Then you integrate, you will get the velocity of the vehicle. Gyroscope, which will give the angular velocity. Then you can get the roll, pitch, angles when you integrate this angular velocity. And magnetometer, which will give the direction of your vehicle. And barometer will be useful to understand the altitude, what height with respect to its barometric, with respect to its pressure measurements. Your rho GH will be useful in terms of calculating the height, altitude. So as you can see, all are micromechanical, electromechanical based sensors. So MEMS based sensors nowadays being very widely coming up. So you can play around this kind of this kind of sensors and get the feedback, and you can control your system. If you take any typical quadcopters, the circuit will goes in this way. You will be giving a radio control 2.4 gigahertz that will be received at the UAV with the receiver, control receiver, and that control receiver will send the commands. Whatever the commands from the 2.4 gigahertz frequency will be given to the corresponding units in the controller. The controller will send the signal to the ESC. That ESC will activate the motor. So this is the typical flow of your UAV quadcopters, and you will have a battery to power all the electronic elements. And if you want to have some gimbals, you will have cameras to rotate. That is for your camera aspects. So you can have the gimbal system, and these are all the typical parts and how it is connected in terms of achieving the quadcopter UAV flying. So how that it's fly? For example, normally it will be having 4 rotors. So these are the 4 different conditions. For example, if I want to move the UAV, the quadcopter, I'll increase the speed uniformly for all rotors. So with respect to the thrust, with respect to the generated by the propeller, each propeller of same speed will generate equal amount of thrust. Then it will move up, which will be against the weight including the payload. So we will be achieving the throttle condition. And hovering, when it is rotating at all the motors are rotating at constant speed, then we are able to achieve the hovering. Pitch, this diagonal motors are rotated fast. Pitch, the rear motors and forward front motors are controlled. So if you want to move forward, so we will be rotating this one in a fast manner, high speed, and this one is low speed, and the backward inverse verse. And if you want to rotate roll with respect to this axis, we'll be rotating this faster and this is slower. And this yaw motion, the diagonal propellers will be rotated fast, and other diagonal propellers will be rotated slow. So this is the basic input and basic motions, how this roll, pitch, yaw motion and hovering is achieved when you activate this kind of four motors with respect to its speed, varying the speed of the propellers and motors. So normally PID controller, proportional, integral and derivative controller are used in the Pixoc or other basic controllers. So proportional will give how much you are able to move towards the destination. That will give with respect to this gain, and calculation of error will be getting the feedback from the sensors. And integral gain will be minimizing your steady state error, which is nothing but your final destination, whether you will be having plus or minus 5 meter or 10 meter. So this will be taken care by the I integral gain with respect to the error, summation of the error. And differential, it depends upon how fast your vehicle is moving, which is taken care by this differential. So these three actions are taking place to achieve your flight performance in terms of controlling this proportional, integral and derivative gains. So this is the simple proportional integral flowchart. So we have a ground control station to predefine the trajectory for flying in an autonomous mode. What is autonomous mode? We don't have any man to control your UAV. Just we will be defining the trajectory, what trajectory with respect to waypoints and what altitude and what speed, and whether you want to achieve any particular point hovering, or what kind of what you can say latitude or longitude it is moving. All those information will be stored, that will be predefined. So you will be just flying in a autonomous mode. That is what autonomous mode. So ground control station will be useful for that purpose. Whenever you want to design any UAV, you should follow certain procedure. For example, first you should calculate the weight. What is the weight of the system, including the payload? So the system weight and the payload. So based on that weight, so you will be having a definition called thrust to weight ratio. So obviously your thrust should be at least 2 times the weight. That is what it is, thrust to weight ratio 2. And what kind of endurance you want to go for. So this is the input what you are looking for. According to this, so thrust, you will be selecting the propeller, motor and EAC combination, and what kind of frame, because what kind of payload you want to mount it, you will be designing your own frame according to your payload. And also your autopilot system, like manual or automatic, it depends upon the mission, what you are looking for, manually or autonomous mode, predefined waypoints. That is what autonomous. And finally, with respect to your endurance, you are selecting a battery, as I mentioned about the lithium polymer battery. So this is how we have to go for different steps when you are designing a UAV. We have done some of the works with designing UAV. First and foremost, we will be placing this particular whatever the components to balance the CG. We have to go for initial modeling, CAD modeling, so that you will have an idea where to place the components, how to place the components, so that your CG, center of gravity, is balanced. So that is the first and foremost thing you should take care of, because if your CG is out, then that's all, everything gone. So you should balance the CG. You should position, for example, this red color are 4 batteries we have positioned, and other places we have positioned other components. So you will be having the balancing of your CG. So this particular vehicle, whatever I have shown, about the total weight will be about 12.45 kgs. Okay, so the structure weight alone, all components, including bolts, nuts, clamps, everything, we have estimated that weight is about 12.5 kgs. So you should have approximate weight of the vehicle and what kind of payload. So together you will have a total weight, and then you will be selecting the motors, propellers based on the thrust weight ratio of at least 2. So that's how it is you have to go for. And this is the simple autonomous flight we had at our Vailtech. So this is our research park. I mean, this is our ground. This is our research park where I am sitting. So this is the trajectory which we planned. So this is the input and output, whether it is matched. So it was estimated and set point. Both are almost in the similar track. If you can see the altitude and roll, pitch, yaw, and its position, velocity, actuators, sensors, like as I mentioned about accelerometer, gyroscope, magnetometer, and what kind of vibration it is occurring, what is the power with respect to in the battery performance. So these are all can be monitored. That log file will be there. You can take the log file and you can check whether if you have any problem or not. So this is how you will have an autonomous flight and you can check the performance of your vehicle. So this is how fundamentals of UAVs to show the outline, what kind of components and how to select those components with respect to multi-rotor. Generally speaking, we should use UAVs where the human having difficulties and whether we are unable to climb and do some of the works like bridges, heritage structures, and the monuments, and some of the places where the human risk is involved. So those aspects we were targeting actually using our applications. So we have been working for the past 10 years, and these are all some of the applications like power inspection, power line inspection, telecom tower inspection, environmental monitoring, mines, pesticide spraying, water sampling, remote water flow bodies, bridges and heritage structure inspection, air quality measurement, and traffic monitoring, disaster mission. So these are all the different applications which we have already forecasted and which some of the projects we have already completed. And these are all some of the UAVs which our students and various funded projects where we have developed with our Vailtech. Some of the funded projects like DST, Indo-Canada, Indo-Korea I will discuss, and one more project between India and Taiwan, and DRDO, and student level projects like MSME and IEI. So the first project I just want to show today is Indo-Canada between Vailtech and the University of Victoria. It is about the inspection of this long span railway bridges. The idea is you have a UAV with multiple sensors, including thermal cameras, HD cameras, ultrasonic sensors, or any other moisture measurement meters, all non-destructive sensors which will be mounted on the UAV. If it is a sensor, then it will be transmitted as a sensor data. If you are having a image, HD or thermal, it will be as an image transmitted to the ground, the MATLAB. So you will be, for example, you can process the sensor data through LabVIEW, and you can do all the processing at the ground control station. Then we can develop a protocol, structural health monitoring protocol. What is the quality and what is the life of structure with respect to a sensor data or image data. Then that information can be stored in a database that can be given to Indian Railways or Transport Department, whoever is concerned. So this was an idea, and we have executed. Basically, we have used image processing and fuzzy logic. These two together, we are able to inculcate these two to identify the defects as well as the structural health condition. That is the objective. That was an objective. With this UAV about 25 to 30 minutes endurance, payload about 2 kg, and it has the flight antenna range is about 2 km, but it can be extended up to 5 km. We have used GoPro Hero 4 HD camera for collecting, and also thermal camera. We have inspected some of the bridges at Chittoor, Vellore, Arakonam, Renugunta, and this is our team. He is Dr. Rishi, and other people from Southern Railways. We have inspected some of the bridges, and we have processed those images. For example, this is a column or pier where you can see the deterioration from each slabs in a different image processing, and then we have developed this graphical user interface where each corrosion, sulfate attack, acid attack, whatever the problems associated with respect to bridges, and that is from the guidelines called OSTO. That guidelines will be giving what kind of defects and what kind of damages inside this. Based on that, we are able to develop a protocol. So through image processing, we will be able to identify those defects and it's quantifying the defects. Then through fuzzy logic, we are able to combine all those defects and we were able to evaluate this bridge condition out of 5 scale. This is 3.97, so that it is saying that it is heavily damaged. This is the idea about image processing and fuzzy logic. Together, we are able to quantify the bridge damage. And second aspect is 3D mapping. So we started from a brick. This is a 3D mapped brick. You can see the error, for example, actual and what is the error after 3D mapped. So 96 mm is the actual and 99.73 is the 3D map. So you can see a small error. And this is our research part 3D mapped. And we have done some of the works. And we went to the Tirumala Nayaka Mahal at Madurai, where you have used thermal cameras where you can see this particular moisture ingress. In the normal image you cannot see, but in terms of thermal image you can see the moisture ingress. So that is what we should go for thermal images. So it will lead to corrosion. So this is what the use of thermal images and UAVs. And again we went to a palace called Lakshmi Vilas at Vadodara. We 3D mapped the structure, complete structure, and we 3D printed the structure. So this particular palace is 3D printed after mapping with the FDM 3D printer, and then we painted. So this is how our objective, for example, our Indo-Canada for bridge inspection, we have used UAVs and heritage structure, 3D mapping, and understanding the structure condition. That is what our target from the Indo-Canada project. The second project is Indo-Korea, where our Whaltech Institute and UCOL is a company. Mr. Vasantraj was initially involved in this. DJAST is a institute at Korea, and Robitech is a company. They are working on autopilot systems. So this is an industry institute collaboration, and the aim is to design and develop an amphibious vehicle. So what do you mean by amphibious? It is having multiple multi-rotor system and hovercraft. Combining these two systems, this particular amphibious vehicle will fly, land on the water, and move along the water, and collect water samples. And some of the sensors which are on board, it will touch on the water surface and it will transmit the data through IoT. That was a project which we have developed. Initially, we have examined the structure after doing so many iterations of conceptual evaluation models, and then we have understood about the flow characteristics, rotor to rotor interaction studies, whether this particular vehicle will have stable in different wind conditions, the pressure distribution, velocity distribution, everything is perfect so that it will not, unstable during the wind conditions. CFD analysis we have done. We have used around 4-5 sensors: pH, DO, dissolved oxygen, EC, electrical conductivity, turbidity, chlorophyll, and other sensors that was mounted. So this is the final amphibious structure. You can see this is a multi-rotor system. This having coaxial. I have already shown the design, approximate design, and this is the hovercraft system. This is the collection of water. In the beneath of this, there will be a pump and motor to suck the water. That will be, again, it will be stored into the water bottles. And also we have sensors underneath. I mentioned about those 4-5 sensors that will just touch, like it will go and land on the water. It will just, once it lands, then we'll go for hovercraft mode. It will move along the water, and for each location we are able to collect the waters and also collect, input center data. That is, these are the sensors which will be connected with Raspberry Pi Wi-Fi router. This will be actually touch the water, and through Raspberry Pi it will, through Raspberry Pi processor and Wi-Fi router, we are able to get the data through IoT platform. So this is a network like 4G, 3G, 2G comparison, and 4G's performance is good. Power consumption for all the units, and what kind of time it is able to sense the data and get the data that all the sensors. So these are all the works, and basically we have collected the in-suit sensor and collected the water sample, the sensor data, in-suit sensor data, and the laboratory analysis. It is almost matching. So we are able to confirm that okay, our measurement from the sensor and the lab data is almost equal, so that we can use this vehicle with this sensor for any remote water body location measurement, water quality measurement. So this is about the Indo-Korea project. Now we are focusing on to agricultural side. This is a basic. It was developed 2015. We started with pesticide spraying. Now we are moving into with respect to DBT, Department of Biotechnology. We are working on some of the projects on monitoring the ground net images, seaweeds, and so on and so forth. So we will be working on some of the other projects with respect to agricultural aspects. I'm not disclosing anything now. And mining, we went to Dhanbad. We have inspected a mine. This is a 3D stitched. I mean, after collecting the images, we stitched those images. And student level competition, there was a competition for power grid to inspect the power line inspection cable. So existing approaches like manual helicopter or some of the complex mechanisms were difficult. So why not we can use these kind of hexarotors. Mr. Vasantraj and myself were involved in this development of hexarotor with around 5-6 students. So basically it will have a hexarotor will have a high payload capacity because of this so many units like carrying units are there. This particular vehicle will just about 2.5 kg total weight, the structure. We won this particular competition between IIT Kanpur and VLTech. We shared first prize about 5 lakhs. We also applied the patent. It will come soon. It is in the final stage. The next one was how to inspect this kind of telecom structures and what kind of radiations were coming out from this telecom structure. So there was a award called Aegis Gagambal Award in 2015. So this particular electrospark meter, which will measure the radiation intensity. So we just flown this UAV towards the telecom structure and measured the radiation intensity. And you can see this screen in terms of just focusing a small camera onto the display screen, you can see into the ground control system. It was a very preliminary prototype model, and you can measure the radiation at different altitude and different latitude, longitude position, so that we can understand the radiation pattern. This electronics people can do, and this was a team were involved, and we won this particular Aegis Gagambal Award in 2014. There were so many people like Airtel, Aircel, Ideas. There was so much of competition. We went in this category of innovative business model, and also worldwide competition. The same idea was appreciated. Future ideas. There are so many applications of UAVs, more than 300 applications or more than that. This is a snapshot of one of the unmanned vehicle university. You can take any one of the applications. You can design your UAV and you can develop your own payload requirements, and we can use those UAVs in different applications. That is what we are also targeting. And this is another picture from NASA. So each box, for example, blue, red, green, and pink, and brown, each box concentrating on the characteristics I mentioned in the second or third slide, like lift, for example, lift to drag. This is a propulsion characteristics. I mentioned about minimal weight, so empty weight and reducing the airframe structure weight. So minimizing the weight, how does this optimization, FEA, all those aspects, and propulsion and endurance aspect, specific fuel consumption aspect, and autonomous mission aspects. There are so many variants with respect to the characteristics, as I mentioned earlier. So if you take any one of this box, and if you can give a percentage improvement, 1% improvement, like I am improving my endurance from 20 minutes to 21 minutes, or 20 minutes to 30 minutes, something like that. That will be of very much useful to the society of present scenario. So what kind of structure or what kind of propulsion system, what kind of algorithms, what kind of navigation methods, what kind of controls, all those aspects you can work. So these are all available, all in Google. You can take any one and you can work on it. So this is few students and some of the UAVs. This is how today I think I've taken a correct time, I hope. So I just want to finish in 1 hour so that we can ask more questions if you have anything. Thank you so much for your patience and listening. Thank you. Now it is seeing, you are able to see anything?
Yes, sir.
Yeah. So whatever I mentioned about Indo-Korea, this amphibious vehicle, first level prototype, basic test on flying in the air and moving on the surface. So what we have done is we have just rotated this. That's all. We have not used anything else. We just rotate the propeller with a small servo motor so that it will move forward. So that was the idea. So that will save the motor and propeller. So this is on the water. And the second category we are working on a float type. That was previously on the hovercraft type, skirt type. That's what's hovercraft. This one is float. Just it will go on land and it will float. It will not move. This is the first level test we did with small camera for image processing aspects. So the images will be processed online in MATLAB environment. Whatever image source the online processed image, whenever there is a data coming from the UAV, it will be processed in the ground control station using MATLAB. So that was the first step we did. Based on that, we got this particular Indo-Canada project. So this is the real railway bridge inspection. We have collected those images, but we have not processed on board because it was heavy data. SD data is very heavy. But it will be possible when we go for higher end processor and units. So some of the railway bridges we have inspected, and this is the Lakshmi Vilas Palace. You can see thermal image, normal image and thermal images, thermal camera were used, and then finally 3D mapped. Then we have shown the 3D printed structure. So this particular Indo-Taiwan is about ornithopters. I am not disclosing here. So it is just to control multiple ornithopters. This form of structure that Vasantraj and myself are involved. And this is about student project I was mentioning, 1 meter wingspan. That was a flight student project. It was flying comfortably. And this one also from Mr. Vasantraj and our students. So fixed wing UAV for environmental monitoring. So we had a flight test. And during inspection, we went to Dhanbad. So I already shown just image stitching. is the image onboard camera. Okay. So we just drop down mines. So this is a mine at the bottom. And the pesticide basic project. So many people are able to so that time we just started the prototype. Pesticide free. And this one is power line insertion. This 2030. So we had a flight test and stability test. And also onboard camera will be there to, for example, this is the power line cable. You want to monitor this cable remotely. So there will be a camera here. This camera will just focus this cable. If there is any thermal or any breakage, you can see this maybe with the help of thermal camera that can be monitored in a remotely. So that was an idea of the power line inspection. So this particular video is coming from onboard to ground control station. So there is a small robotic arm kind of structure. So it can move up and down. If can attach some small torque wrench, there is a bolt loosen, then that will be tightened with the help of torque wrench. Telecom tower structure I mentioned about. We had as you can see a small box which is radiation coming out from the telecom. This particular spectrum in the electrometer. So the radiation measurement mounted with the electrometer, we are able to get it. So that was an idea. You can put the radiation pattern. So, thank you.
Thank you so much, sir. The session is very informative. Thank you, sir.
I think if you have any questions, how many participants? 38 participants. Okay, if you have any questions, you can ask.
Good evening, sir.
Yeah.
Sir, you said you mentioned about that battery, no, sir, which means polymer, lithium polymer battery.
Yeah.
Sir, how it is working? I mean, you told about only for 2 volts and 5 volts only it will be working, sir. Whether it will be working for?
No, it depends upon mAh, your milliamps per hour. What milliamps per hour according to your endurance.
Okay. Whether we can use it for. Okay.
Sorry?
Whether we can use it for 22 volt to 29 volt lithium polymer batteries, sir.
If you want to have more what you can voltage requirement, you have to obviously go for higher I cell, more number of cells.
Okay, sir.
And if you want to increase the endurance, you should go for higher energy density, higher amps, higher milliamps per hour. And if you want to go for high discharge rating, you should go for higher C ratings. So I mentioned the nomenclature. According to your need, you should select.
Okay, sir. Okay, sir.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Welcome. Then thank you. Thank you for the opportunity, Aerospace Private Limited and Mr. Vasant Raj. for this session opportunity.